No going back now. Because I'm going to start melting. What is up, you guys? It's your girl, JJ. Welcome back to the Ratchet Diaries. So, yeah, you guys, today is November 18th of 2025. It's been way too long since we filmed. Last time I filmed was my birthday in Las Vegas. So there is a lot to update today, so let's get started. So, as you guys notice, a little bit of a different little camera. I just got the iPhone 17 Pro Max, so we are shooting live in 4K. Just use my iPhone. We'll test it out today, see how it does. If there's a bunch of noise going on, unfortunately, there is a lot of construction going on right now in my apartment. Important thing to really talk about is H&M. So in my celebrating mom and Maisy video, at the very, very end of that video, I had mentioned that H&M wasn't going good. I had already went through a lot of mental and emotional turmoil, and I think at the point of filming, that was only a little bit over 2 months of being there, and my last day there was September 27th. And so in that video, I kind of basically was like, I can't really talk about it because I'm still there. You know, all jobs have a very strict kind of policy when it comes to talking about the job or posting about the job on social media. And so I just and H&M's I think was just a little bit more strict than all jobs that usually have that policy. So I didn't feel comfortable talking about it then. Like I just said, September 27th was my last day, so I am finally ready to talk about it. So normally, guys, with Ratchet Diary videos, I normally usually decide not to go into detail about job stuff and why we quit or what happened, because I'm sick and tired of being a broken record. You know, if you've been watching my videos since 2020 at least, you know that we always quit jobs because they end up being toxic or they've been toxic the whole time, whatever. And I think at a certain point, I think maybe a year from 2020, I think we just finally stopped talking about it. I like a lot of the last few videos, at least I can remember, of talking about jobs. I usually don't go into detail about coworkers. I kind of just stopped. I was like, you know what? Why am I going to keep wasting time, you know, giving this more of my energy, name dropping people and giving them attention, blah, blah, blah. So for the last almost 2 months, I've really been struggling to figure out how to talk about it, but also what and how much. And so ultimately I made the decision to unfortunately make this video extremely fucking long and decide to just go into all the details, because the problem with H&M was it was more than turmoil. It was more than toxic. It was more, those words do not, that's lessening my experience. At that job, I was abused from day one. Being at that job was abuse. So I would be doing myself a really big disservice if I just decided to skip over it. So basically, let's just get into it. So, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about and just give as much detail as I can recollect, as much as I can remember. Right before the very end of my first week, we filmed on May 1st and told the story of what happened with me and my ex, and also, you know, celebrated the 5-year anniversary of the Powerpuff Girl Museum apartment. The next day, May 2nd, right before the end of my first week, I will never forget this because this is an important part to talk about because it just follows and makes sense to follow it after this. I came in to work the next day after May 1st. It was May 2nd. I was dressed up. I took some pictures for that video, actually. And immediately walking in, about half the staff was just all, you know, sitting at the break table, because you go into the break room to clock in, and not a single one of them acknowledged me, said hi, how are you doing, you know, nothing. So so from there, you know, it just got worse. Unfortunately, not too long after that situation happened, it was very easy to recognize that I was working with a gigantic clique. And unfortunately, the clique was basically made up of more than half the staff. Why do these people don't like me? Like, I've been here a week and none of them have really gone out of their way to talk to me. So after that day happened, I'm like, okay, they feel entitled to this store. I'm new. Some of them have been there, almost 5 years. Like, okay, like, I've got to make a good impression. So for the rest of that month, I feel like in May, I really did make an effort to like talk to the people that had problems with me or didn't seem to really like vibe with me. So there's a decent amount of specific people that I really did in the first few weeks of training, really try to talk to them, get to know them. There's specifically one girl who was going to get mentioned later on in this video because I can't stand her. She's the scariest, manipulative little bitch I've ever met in my life. Her name is Kelsey. She, off the bat, bad energy. So we had like a truck shift together and I found out all this information about her. Like, she's a military kid, like her dad's in the military, so she moved a lot. She was in school for nursing or something, and just like was able to find out information because I talked to her about her life during that time that we were doing truck shipment. So now, with that, finding that information out and in that conversation, did she ask one single thing about my life, about who I am, about my family, about what I have been in school for? No. And that also followed throughout the rest of that clique, manipulative, horrible, mean staff. And I'm gonna give them a little bit of credit here. Most of them were not older than 22-ish. There was a couple of them in the clique that were like close to 25, but essentially no one in that staff that I worked with who was a part of the mean, manipulative clique was older than 25. So I will give them a little bit of slack in terms of life experience. However, most of them being 19 or whatever, coming right out of high school, you'd think that they'd want to maybe act a little differently than being in high school, but no. So again, from there, like at that point when it started to become apparent that like none of my getting to know and talking to them was going to get reciprocated in any way, I basically just started going into work and just ignoring all of them. I was like, I'm not going to waste my breath and my time and my energy talking to people that literally they have no desire to give me even the time of day. And also at that point, I already was feeling like set up to fail, like I mentioned earlier, because it was very apparent that I wasn't going to get the necessary training I needed to be successful because, again, none of them were giving me the time of day. So it's like, I don't need people to be nice to me and like talk to me all the time. But the problem that I have is that when it's a problem is when I'm like being set up to fail, to the point where it's like, okay, not only are you kind of like not training me the way that you should, but then it's becoming a situation where the mistreatment also on top of like going out of their way to get me in trouble and all this shit. So essentially, very quickly in the first month, I realized, okay, I have a very toxic work environment because I'm working with a bunch of like fucking 20-something-year-olds who cannot take themselves out of their selves for 5 fucking seconds and realize, JJ didn't grow up learning how to fold clothes. JJ's not the best organizer. You guys have all seen my fucking closet. I don't fold my clothes. So like and again, to my defense, that's not it shouldn't be as much of an excuse, but all of them grew up with all of that. And again, that I didn't necessarily need that to be taken into consideration. It was more a problem of like, why can't they just give me the extra help instead of like throwing me under the bus and getting me in trouble for it? So then I start closing the store, and H&M has this crazy policy about finger spacing every goddamn hanger in the place when you close. So whatever section you have to finger space every single hanger. And again, like doing that fast or doing that at a decent pace takes time. And again, to my point earlier, none of them, they all, like essentially all of the staff who was a part of the clique, which again is more than half of them, they all just gave up. They all gave up before even having issues with getting certain job requirements down. They already gave up on me before I even had the opportunity to show them that I was taking a little bit longer to learn. And so basically, I end up getting like a talking to about like not being good enough about the organizational shit. And so I get kind of like a verbal warning. And then like a week or so later, I get in trouble again because I was talking to other coworkers, and talking about how like this one supervisor who is only 24 years old, Eva, like I said, we're gonna name drop in this shit because it's really fucked up what they did to me. So Eva Marie, that's her full name. I had one of the biggest issues with her in the beginning because she talks in this whole, oh Jesus, I hate when this happens. She talks in this whole monotone like voice, and basically just ends up like talking to me in a different way than she talks to people that she likes, right? So this is her tone of voice. So for example, like one day, H&M takes loyalty very seriously. So, one of the days I was working with another coworker, she comes through the cash register, area, and she's like, "Oh, Ari, you're at a 79, like you're so close." They always need us to be above like 85 or whatever. She's like, "You're at a 79, you're so close. Good job, like whatever, you're doing so good, you're so close." And then she comes over to me and she's like, JJ, you're at a 90. Good job. Like that monotone, like slow talking, just very like, it's almost like a belittling, disrespectful type of tone of voice where it's like, I already know you don't like me, but you also don't have to talk to me like I'm fucking stupid. So then that kind of arose, and then that became an issue where I got in trouble for talking about her. And then when that became a write-up, when that situation ended up becoming a write-up, that's when I finally spoke up and was like, look, since the week I started, all of these motherfuckers have been treating me like shit and don't respect me. They don't help me. I've been set up to fail since the beginning, blah, 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 blah. Because there are other things in that write-up too, where other people in that clique were getting me in trouble for stuff that I like again didn't do. Like it was almost like situations where they almost made it up and maybe had like some kind of like a vouch for it. And just again, like it's just one of those things. It's almost like I was in middle school again, where it was like anything I say is just going to be thrown under the bus and I'm going to get in trouble for it, even though anything I said about any of them was never as disrespectful or fucked up as things that they said to me or got me in trouble for. And so when I had that meeting, to discuss like finally just speak up about it, because I was told by someone who ended up being one of my close friends there, she's like, look, the head manager, Melanie, name dropping because she's a bitch, she favors them very much. So her blatant favoritism towards them, like, even if you speak up about it, you're just going to set yourself up for failure. And so that's why I kept quiet about it for so long. Like that, I don't think that meeting and that like whole little like first write-up ended up happening until like June or something. Like it had been at least like almost 2 months like over a month at the point where I finally just decided to speak up about it. Cause it was like, okay, I was willing to keep my mouth shut for a long time because, I was like, I don't need to cause any more drama than I'm already in already. And, normally, guys, like in those types of situations, like if it's that bad that early on, I dip, like I'm out of there. But because coming from caregiving before, I just really needed this on my resume. It was like, if I didn't need H&M on my resume so badly, I would have probably left in the first 3 weeks because it was just off the bat toxic. So basically the response to me finally speaking up in that write-up meeting basically was, JJ, they've worked here for a while. They feel very entitled to their store. And if they don't see you working as hard or making as much of an effort, then they're not going to be nice to you. So that, till the day that I quit, was their solution to my mistreatment. The only thing that really kind of got resolved from me finally speaking up about it and telling them how I'd been treated there, the only thing that changed was how Eva was talking to me. She finally, like, I think because she's in a position of management, like, she couldn't get away with talking to me the way she was. So she finally, luckily she finally started talking to me like in a way more respectful manner. So the only thing that really changed from that situation was just, finally she was talking to me like a human being and not like a fucking dumbass motherfucker. Besides a lot of the click, manipulative, mean, evil shit that was going on there, I was constantly being told that I suck and that I'm horrible every day. Instead of management or coworkers seeing that I'm struggling and like, maybe wanting to help me and maybe just help me out a little bit. If you really hate my work ethic, then maybe try to help me so I can get better. But no, we're just going to set you up to fail. So basically, almost every single time that I closed, I usually would go home and cry because, going into this job every single day was a mental battle because I was constantly being told that I suck, that I'm horrible, that I'm just a really shitty worker, this, that, and the other. So I remember, I think I even cried in the bathroom one day because I just like lost it. I just started like losing my mind there. So essentially, I think right before my birthday vacation, I think I ended up deciding to put in my 2 weeks, right when I get back. So I was like, okay, like, I wanted to be here longer, but like at least, 3 months is better than 3 weeks, right? In terms of my resume. So I was like, all right, let's just go on my birthday vacation. We'll get back. We'll be done. The week before, I was going to give Melanie, the main manager, before I was going to give her my 2 weeks, she announced that she was leaving. She was going to be the manager at the Cherry Creek store in Denver and not the Northfield shops. Oh yeah, speaking of which, I worked at the Northfield shop. So just if any of you want to work at H&M, just don't work at that one. Basically, yeah, so I was like, wait a minute, like I fully was going to give her my 2 weeks. Actually, I think I ended up deciding to stay a couple more weeks after vacation just to get like a full like three. I think I was going to give my 2 weeks. Like, I think my last day originally was going to be like August 16th, so I could still get like a full month paycheck from August or whatever. And so I was like, wait, Melanie's leaving. That kind of changes things because at the end of the day, like, it always starts at the top. So one of the main things of like her leaving was like, well, maybe the clique will dismantle now because we don't have a manager that's favoring them so hard and letting them get away with so much fucking shit. So I was like, wait a minute. So wait, maybe I shouldn't quit now because if she's leaving, that might solve some issues. Because out of the 3 managers there, Whitley, and she's the only manager there who, regardless of how much trouble I got in or how much, the clique staff was trying to manipulate me, or manipulate her, she never changed her viewpoint and never allowed any of that shit to change her viewpoint of me. And so so after Melanie left, I was like, fuck Whitley, like if you get this position, I can probably stay. Melanie leaves and I'm like, Whitley, like, you should apply for the position, like I started encouraging her to do it. She was very, like, she didn't want to do it. Whitley was very, like, and originally was just like, I don't know if I want all that responsibility. I have 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, girl, you are the perfect manager. Like, everyone here loves you. We all respect you. We all love you. You're so nice to everybody. You don't have fucking blatant favoritism towards a staff that sets every single person that's new up for fucking failure. So you should do this. So anyway, she already basically has to start doing that job anyway before officially getting it because Melanie's leaving. So we're at a power disadvantage for those couple of weeks after she left. And so I really was like, okay, like if Whitley gets this, I can probably stay because, Whitley is more, at least a little bit on my side when it comes to all this shit and appreciates me and sees my value a little bit. So maybe I can stay. Because I ended up deciding to stay, Shortly, like a week or two after I got back from my birthday vacation, I knew I was going to have to find another part-time job because H&M was always part-time. I can't live off of part-time only, so I knew I was going to have to pick up another part-time job. So I think like a week or two after my birthday vacation, we started applying, and very quick turnaround, thank God. But we started working at Miss Pliables. I don't know if hopefully you guys can see that. Miss Playa. Look it up. It's basically like a smoothie bowl type of place. Like it has smoothies and like fruit type of bowls. Like it's like granola and stuff like that. So I ended up getting this job pretty quickly. And then we started working like literally the first week of August. So by the first week of August, I was doing both jobs pretty much until mid-September. And so I want to say it was like the very end of August. I remember, this is a good memory situation. I can remember this very, very well. I was on my way to work, and H&M is about 30 to 40 minutes away. So I called my mom and I was like, hey, you know, I'm not doing the best that I can do. I'm already, as I've already been talking about, I've been set up to fail at this job since the beginning. I have to work harder than everybody else because I'm already seen as less than. So I could tell that after those first kind of 2 weeks of doing Playa, I was starting to be really, really unmotivated and not like doing as good of a job at H&M because Playa was like, it was kind of like working both of those really was, it was just a little too much, especially too because Playa was 30 minutes away. And then, luckily there wasn't too many times where I had to do doubles. But I think with all that driving and then ultimately, usually, like most of the time with working both of them, when I didn't have a day off. Like it was very rare that I was getting even one day off because of both jobs. I don't even think I mentioned this earlier, but neither one of those jobs, specifically H&M, ever gives you a set schedule. Your schedule changes every single week at H&M. So basically, I call my mom. I'm like, I really don't think I can do this for much longer. It's definitely affecting my work at H&M. Like and H&M is like, I'm already just dealing with too much at H&M. So I told my mom like, hey, can you just help me out so that I can maybe quit Playa a little bit sooner and just focus on H&M. So she agreed, and I was like, great. So then this happens very often. They do not, at least with me, they don't have meetings or write-ups or in troubledness talks in the middle of the day. As soon as you clock in, they put me in the office. So I basically get clocked in. So imagine this. I call my mom, like talk to her about it, it's solved. So ironically enough, I get another verbal warning about performance because I can own up to my mistakes and they were not wrong. They're like, JJ, like, again, the way they went about it was really bad, but I agreed to what they were saying about how I was doing. Like I was slacking a little bit. I wasn't working as hard because I just, like I said, handling both jobs just wasn't really going very well. So ultimately, I get through that meeting. I'm like, this is kind of funny because I just called my mom and told her that I was struggling to do both. And so basically, again, it's like tangent type of situation where it's like, do you even want to be here? Like, it doesn't seem like you want to be here. And in my head, I'm like, of course I don't want to be here. I'm going through psychological abuse. Like, who wants to show up every day to somewhere where they're not appreciated, not valued, and are being told that they're horrible every fucking day? Like, who wants to hear that? So I obviously didn't say any of that because I was really like, again, I've just been trying to push through. They go off on this tangent of like, it just seems like you're here for the money. And it's like, well, who the fuck isn't here for money? I don't come here to fucking play games, girl. I'm here to make a paycheck and go home. They knew well in advance that Maisy was going to have her surgery in a couple weeks. So I'm like, you can't expect me to be at my best when my daughter is going to go through something like this, blah, 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 blah. So, I ended that meeting and I was like, okay. So basically at that meeting, and again, this is all poor management skills. And this is, again, why this job is so fucking toxic is like, instead of like saying, okay, we're just going to watch you and, you know, do your thing and just do better, okay? This is a verbal warning, just do better. No, we're going to give you an ultimatum. We're going to basically say, like, if we don't see an improvement in you in a month from now, you're going to get your second write-up. So I didn't, like, spend most of the time when I go in these fucking manager meetings and being in trouble and stuff like that, I don't spend the meeting disagreeing with all of it. Like, you know, any times that they got me in trouble, like, or I said something, I did something, I'm gonna own up to it, obviously. So I didn't spend that meeting disagreeing with them, but I also, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, they don't have any sympathy or understanding for my situation at all. Because again, like, I'm less than, I suck, blah, blah, blah. So, like, getting that ultimatum, it was just like, okay. So I went home that night and I was just like, almost cut my wrist, because again, it's just like for almost 4 months at this point of the time of that meeting, it's like, okay, I'm getting told I suck every fucking day. Like, regardless if that is somewhat true, you know, no one deserves to hear that every single day and also be treated like that. Like, going into this job every day, like I said earlier, it was a mental battle of like, okay, don't let all of this get to you. Just come in here and do your job and leave. Like, don't constantly let them telling you that you suck and this, that, and the other. And to be honest, guys, I didn't suck. I really did do the best I could. It was just like the organizational and the folding stuff that I wasn't good at. Because if we're gonna talk about loyalty and how important that stuff is, and getting people signed up for loyalty. If we're gonna talk about that aspect, I was blowing the clique out the water, because the clique isn't personable. They're assholes. So their loyalty sucks because they don't know how to be personable, because they're fucking narcissistic pieces of shit. So yeah, I left that meeting like, okay, great. Like, I got an ultimatum. Now I even have more pressure on me, and it's bad timing because Maisy's about to have her surgery. So before the shift was over, I ended up like just giving Playa my 2 weeks. I didn't even end up staying at Playa for more than like, I was barely at Playa for a month. I was at Playa for like a month and a week. Because basically after that meeting, I was like, okay, I make way more. I make $8 more an hour at H&M. Like, let's just, again, my mom said she would support me, so let's just, like, we'll just get out of Playa so that I can essentially just, like, be better and more focused and be more present at H&M. So before the shift was over, I texted my manager at Playa and I was like, hey, like, I have to quit. It's just not working out. And it really wasn't, because the money and the drive, like, driving 30 minutes to make $11 an hour isn't worth it. And then on top of that, like, I was getting cut all the time. Like, Playa, the way that companies works is like, unless you're opening or closing, like, if you're a mid-shift, you might as well not even work there, because, like, most of the time if they're slow, they're just going to call you off. So, like, on top of, like, doing all of that and getting that job, like, I was constantly getting called off my shifts because it wasn't busy enough. So, like, I was at that point of that meeting, I was already ready to quit Playa anyway. So I was just like, whatever. So I quit Playa. So then now we're getting into Maisy's surgery week. So Maisy's surgery was scheduled Okay, so actually my last day at Playa was September 9th, because Maisy's surgery was September 10th. So I had already, like, scheduled 2 days off after her surgery, you know, to make sure that she could stay home by herself, right? So the surgery went fine. Here's some videos of her surgery. Alrighty, guys, Maisy is out of surgery. I picked her up about an hour ago. I had to quickly get on video chat with my therapist right after I picked her up. She's definitely not happy. Yeah, this is actually going to be a lot longer recovery. So basically, if you watched my video in November of last year, I, found out basically last year that she has arthritis in her whole, basically kind of left leg, maybe more hip or whatever. And basically starting in June, she started just kind of skipping off of that leg when we would go on walks. And so basically, yeah, her knee was popping in and out of place. And so, yeah, at the end of July, they were basically like, yeah, I would go ahead and schedule the surgery. So she got a little lick sleeve on. I've already got her on some meds. I just fed her. I'm glad I'm glad I kept her old bed, because I can't sleep with her for the next month. So yeah, the recovery is going to be a month because she's supposed to have minimal movement. And I know Maisy, and she just like is wild and crazy. So even with sedation, I don't want her moving around. And one of the things on the sheet was like put her in a kennel, but she doesn't have a kennel because she just has really bad separation anxiety. So she's definitely going to, unfortunately, have to be heavily sedated for the next month, with little to no movement. But yeah, and then this is from last week when, the nurse or whatever nicked her while getting her blood drawn, because we had to get new x-rays and blood drawn last week to make sure she was ready for surgery, and they nicked her and they shaved it off, and then basically all of last week she was itching it and irritating it, became a wound, so we got that covered on Monday. But yeah, so before we get into her surgery and all of that, we got to finish up H&M, but Maisy's surgery has a kind of a part to play in finishing up talking about H&M. So the Sunday before Maisy's surgery at H&M, I think it's like a right before closing shift or whatever. I basically, again, Kelsey is one of the biggest problems. Eva and Kelsey were my biggest issues at H&M. I basically passed by, I'm kind of walking around trying to do my job, putting stuff back and doing go backs or whatever. And I overhear Kelsey. I could be totally wrong. Until this day, I don't know for sure. But I thought I heard Kelsey say, oh, she doesn't do anything when she's here. She's so lazy, blah, blah, blah. And again, I could be totally wrong. I thought I heard it. So the coworker she was talking to was someone I thought I could trust, because she was a part of the clique, but not a part of the clique. There was a couple coworkers there who were accepted by the clique but didn't participate, I guess, if that makes sense. And so I went over to ask her. I was like, hey, like, did Kelsey say anything about me? Like, and I was a lot more paranoid in that point of time because of the ultimatum that I got earlier. I was just like, bro, I can't afford to get in any more trouble. Like, I can't do any more write-ups, like, whatever. So I asked her, and she's like, no, we were just talking about the breakdown, which is like what everyone's doing every hour of the shift or whatever. And I was like, okay, so I left it alone. And then, shortly after that, I kind of go see Kelsey talking to the other manager, Olivia. And so then right before I leave for my shift, I ask Olivia, like, hey, I know we're on the floor and we're not necessarily supposed to like talk about things like this on the floor, but I'm not going to be here for 5 days. I ask Olivia, she's like, JJ, we can't talk about it. I'm sorry. Like, you just have to whatever. So I'm like, okay, great. So I was like, I left that shift being like, oh God, if I'm going to probably go in and just blah, blah, blah. The Saturday, like basically my first day back after Maisy's surgery was Saturday. Whitley, like they're doing this like kind of weird like outfit contest thing. So like Eva brought like a Polaroid camera, and Whitley was like, hey, come take a picture with me, and we took a picture. And I was like, oh cool, like it's first day back, having some fun, whatever. And then 5 seconds later, she's like, yeah, we got to go in the office and talk. And I'm like, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I just got back. Like, I just went through this with my baby girl, and I'm in the office again for what, the 7th and 8th time. So then that is my second write-up. And guess what it was about? Kelsey manipulated the whole situation into making it seem like I was talking about her and trying to egg people on, or this whole situation where she basically turned it around because they talked to her first. So basically, guys, what ended up happening, and I found this out a little bit later on after that day of the write-up, was Kelsey and the coworker that I asked if she was talking about me, and Olivia, all orchestrated this whole like scenario that basically did not happen, lied about the whole situation, manipulated it, and turned it into this thing where I was Kelsey's bully. I was singling Kelsey out, which funny enough is like, which is like the biggest gaslighting that I honestly went through at that job. I went through a lot of gaslighting at that job, but that was like the biggest gaslighting I think I ever experienced at that job. So I sat through that whole meeting just being like, this is complete bullshit. Like, I'm getting in trouble because I thought a coworker was talking about me, and I went to management to ask about it. And I was met with, we can't talk about this now. And they were like, well, JJ, why did you go to Olivia and ask her about it? Because I was like, because I was going to be gone for 5 fucking days. And this is exactly what I did not want to happen. I didn't want to come back after my goddamn daughter has her surgery and immediately get in trouble the minute I get into this fucking godforsaken building. And so, yeah, so I just spent that whole meeting just being like, all right, we're done. Like, we're done because my performance improved. I was already doing a lot better. And because of that whole situation, that second write-up had nothing to do with performance. It was a whole manipulation of like, well, Kelsey doesn't have any issues with you, so I don't know what the problem is, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like sitting in that meeting like, this is honestly insanity. These people are working overtime to get me the fuck out of this job, which they've been doing that since the beginning. It didn't take me more than maybe a couple hours after that write-up to just text Whitley and be like, I'm giving you my 2 weeks. I can't do this anymore. Like, I appreciate you and everything, but like, I'm not going through this anymore. Like that was it for me. There's a million other things that should have been the it factor, like I'm done factor for me, but that was the main one because it was like, okay, this has nothing to do with my performance. I'm getting written up because of being paranoid because I got an ultimatum earlier and I didn't want to get in any more trouble. So I asked my manager if I had any bad feedback. So it was like, well, it seems like you're singling Kelsey out because Kelsey doesn't have any issues with you. It was like, okay, all right. Yeah, I'm Kelsey's bully. I'm her bully. I'm the one that's been treating her like crap and sending so much negative energy towards me and turning the whole clique and trying to get the whole clique to fucking orchestrate this whole thing. So the reason I know that that's true, guys, that's not speculation. The reason I know that's true is because the week after that, after I gave my 2 weeks after that meeting, the coworker who I asked if Kelsey was talking about me to just fully ignored me, didn't acknowledge me, and she says hi to me every day. She never not acknowledges me. She walked past me, didn't say anything. I was like, yeah, this is just exactly what I think it is. Like they're doing this whole orchestration of making me feel like I'm the problem and that I'm crazy for feeling any type of way that I feel over my experience here, but I'm constantly getting proof that I'm right. Again, this whole thing got orchestrated between the three of them after I left. And then what's funny is Whitley didn't even work that day. She didn't work that day. That bitch came in just to give me the write-up because the other two bitches were too afraid to give me that write-up because, again, people that are guilty don't go out of their way to be shy and in their shell. If I actually did something wrong, the other two managers who were involved in that whole orchestration of that whole situation happening would have been fully comfortable giving me that write-up. But they had Whitley, who appreciates me, come in and do that on her day off. So like I said, giving my 2 weeks at that point, I was like, fuck this. Like, now I'm getting gaslit into them telling me that I'm the bully when I've mentioned however many times that Kelsey treats me like shit. Like, okay. So yeah, you guys, that was basically, I mean, again, there's so much more. There is so much more. I could talk about H&M for hours. I've had the three coworkers who I will shout out right now, Wendy, Ember, and Alina. They're the only three people there who not only saw the mistreatment, and Ember experienced it. So when me and Ember started getting close around the time that I finally spoke up about it and me and Ember had a 5-hour phone conversation, basically being like, yeah, like I've been going through the same thing almost the whole time. They've been doing the exact same shit to me. And the only reason they're not trying to push her out is because she's not speaking up about it. She's not trying to fight back. She just kind of compartmentalizes it and deals with it and moves on. And you guys know me. I'm not afraid of confrontation. I sure as hell am not going to let anyone mistreat anyone. I mean, I'll stick up for myself, but I'm also someone who's not going to let this keep happening to other people. It's one thing to bully Miss JJ Aries Sears, but you're not going to treat someone else like that and have the same thing. Like, I can take all of it. The difference between me and Ember is I can take it and I will push it and I'll give it right back to you. But yeah, guys, so essentially the entire time I worked at H&M for 5 fucking months, I was psychologically abused. I was emotionally abused. I was gaslit. I was told I was treated like I was less than. I was never set up for success. And I was severely bullied and thrown under the bus several fucking times. And looking back at all of that, I know that I wasn't the problem. And the reason I'm saying that, okay, let me not say it that way. I was a problem in certain aspects because, like I said earlier, I'm able to own up to my mistakes. I made mistakes there and I owned up to them. But at the end of the day, to summarize this whole fuckery, is a job that wants you to be there, that appreciates you, that acknowledges you, that like wants you to succeed, does not go out of their way to constantly undermine you, constantly make you feel like you're worthless, and sure as hell does not constantly create scenarios where you're set up to get in trouble or just constantly just write you up for shit and believe everyone else. So I was just like, I was basically a scapegoat from day one. The door for me to leave that job was open the first week of me starting that job. My mom ended up finally getting me a therapist. So I started seeing Julia, and she might watch this video. So shout out to Julia. Love you, girl. Love you. Shout out to my Julia, honey. She's a jewel, I'll tell you that. One of the main things that we kind of talked about after close to the end of me working there was, she's basically, one of the things I'm going to take away from this is, if you ever feel, or so she's saying this to me, but if I ever feel like I did the first week of starting H&M, if I get those vibes, if I get that energy, leave. Do not stay. Leave. I should have left that job at least like before my birthday vacation, because I really would have saved myself a lot of trauma that I like, because it's just like, this is a job that's going to take me a long time to heal from. So anyway, guys, that was a lot, but we could have just been like emotional psychological abuse, done. But obviously, if you sat through all of that, you can at least somewhat understand why I wasn't willing to just like not talk about it, because I just like so anyway, now we're going to go back a little bit. We're going to talk about May's surgery. By the second week of pliables, I went ahead and scheduled that surgery for September 10th. And you guys saw the videos earlier. So the surgery itself went great. But unfortunately, very similarly to her space surgery recovery, a fucking nightmare. They basically gave me this whole paper, like this two or three paper packet, basically explaining like, okay, the full recovery is 2 months, okay, 2 months long, which is crazy, right? 2 fucking months. I gotta like sedate my baby. I'm like, this is horrible. So the problem started to arise where, when I think it was around like the second week after, when I gave her a bunch of the sedation pills and they didn't work. So my first, I think it was so funny. I think I was literally picking up like dog food from the vet. And I was like on my way there, and I had a feeling, like I have really strong intuition, so I just had a feeling that she hurt herself, and she did. So she basically she tried to jump on my bed, and this is only like 2 weeks into recovery. She tried to jump on my bed because I moved the bed in here out there so that we could sleep together, and she, because again, she wants, and then similar, again, same thing to the space surgery, she kept pissing on herself all the time. I ended up having to finally get her diapers. She hurt herself at least 2 times in the first month of recovery. I took her to the vet to make sure everything was fine. Both times they said it was fine. It was just inflammation, whatever. So I was like, okay, whatever. So then, I'm still sedating her. My goal was to just fully sedate her until the first month was over, just because, again, she's not supposed to be moving around. So then, like, after the first essentially after the first time she hurt herself, I went back to get a stronger sedation pill, And then that still wasn't strong enough. So then I go back again after the second time of her hurting herself, and they give me another stronger sedation pill. So by like the first month, or right before the first month of recovery, this bitch is on like 4 different sedation pills, and they're still not sedating her. So she's still moving around, she's still fucking running, and she's still like doing stuff that she's not supposed to do. So thank the Lord heaven above, like I essentially got like all of October to just finish off like basically the last, month of recovery, because basically it became, so basically the point where I basically just stopped sedating her was I had a nail appointment. I think it was my first nail appointment after quitting H&M, so that would have been like very beginning of October. So yeah, I think yeah, it was like beginning of October. I'm kind of waiting, I'm kind of delaying and kind of running late for the nail appointment because I'm just trying to make sure, I'm not gonna leave until it kicks in, because I don't want you jumping on the bed and like fucking yourself up again. She ends up having a seizure, and obviously at the time of her having it, I didn't know what was going on because I've never experienced anyone having a seizure before. So I was like, oh my God, like I was freaking. I was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? Like, where is she shaking and she's like spitting and blah blah blah. And luckily the seizure, wasn't that long. But then when I called the vet to ask them, like, kind of explain to them what happened, they're like, yeah, it sounds like she had a little seizure. And I was like, yeah. So essentially after that seizure, I was like, we're not sedating you anymore. If you're just gonna run around, because I'm like, I would rather you delay your recovery longer than have another seizure, because like at this point I'm not giving you these pills anymore, because I can almost guarantee you, well, I basically can guarantee you the pills were the reason for the seizure, because again, a dog of her size should not be on 4 different sedation pills, but that's what it took to get her to settle down. Like Maisy, like I've told you guys this a million times, she is not a chill dog. She's not. She's even in, and she's just such a confident, like outgoing dog. Like, I don't even think it was like 3 days after the surgery, she was just walking again and like wanting to play. And I was like, girl, you gotta chill. Like, you can't, I'm glad you're walking and you're not in pain, but like you can't be moving around the same way. We've essentially, at this point in time of filming, she has officially gone through 2 months of recovery. She's back to her regular self. She's energetic, and, luckily the eating situation was never a problem. But she unfortunately is still limping on walks, and I'm not going to take her in and waste another, $80 to $100 for them to just tell me the same thing over and over again, like, oh, just give her more time or blah blah blah. Like, I can't afford. Dude, the surgery, I didn't even mention this, guys. The surgery was fucking $4,500. It was basically like close to $5,000 with the x-rays and the medication. Like, that surgery cost me like so much money, and I'm super grateful to my mom for paying for like half of it. So shout out to mom for paying for half of it, because otherwise I literally don't know how I would have done that surgery. I can't believe I didn't even mention that. That surgery cost like over $4,000. So yeah, you guys, I would not say she's fully recovered, but I'm hoping when the next time we film, which will be Christmas, I'll have a better update, and hopefully she won't be limping anymore. So yeah, you guys, that is pretty much everything that has been going on since, I guess, end of July, essentially. The reason why, if you've been watching this entire thing, you can kind of understand why the video is named Fuck 2025, because, obviously we started the first 3 months being in an extremely abusive relationship, and then, barely a month after getting out of that, we stepped right back into an even more abusive type of situation. So essentially, like, up until quitting H&M, which was like very beginning of October, so the first like 9 to 10 months of this year, I've been very abused. So, 2025 is definitely not going to be considered a good year. However, as per usual, we would not be filming if I didn't have some good news. So, finally getting into some positive stuff. basically, let's see, last week of October, we started my new job at First Cash Pawn. It's a pawn shop. It's a smaller one compared to some of the other ones that are. It's essentially a corporate owned pawn shop business. But the one that I work at specifically is pretty small. And y'all, when I tell you how grateful I am for this job, I can't even put into words how grateful I am for this job, because not only is my manager extremely helpful, nice, kind, understanding, willing to take the time, and for me, the extra time to help me learn and get this stuff down, right? Um, so basically, I just finished my third week yesterday. Not only did I just finish my third week, but last week I ended up getting offered the assistant manager position. It's not official yet. Yeah, I work at First Cash Pawn. I love it. I really do, actually. Like, it's definitely something definitely new in terms of like a type of service job. Like, I've never done this type of job before, and it's also a completely different kind of computer system than just regularly like ringing stuff. Like, it's a completely different system. But I really, really love it. And even though I could be girl me there, it's not really worth it to me to do that, because it's just like I work 9 to 6 every day. So that's the only kind of downside I could say, is I don't get to be girl me for that job. But mama, it's full time, 40 hours a week, 18 an hour. And then when I'm finally officially trained as assistant manager, I'm going to be making 20 an hour, 40 hours a week. And not only that, but it's a full set schedule. The schedule will never change, that was one of the things, one of the main things I couldn't stand about H&M was my schedule changed every fucking week. So finally having a consistent schedule, a full 40-hour a week job, has completely, again, not surprised, skyrocketed my mental, emotional, and physical health. I only work with the manager who I just mentioned, who is extremely nice, so kind, so understanding. We have a lot in common. We talk about cartoons all day long. And then the other guy who just kind of got switched for my girl that started with me, he's also really cool. So essentially, this is going to be my 4th week starting tomorrow. It's me, the manager, and the other dude. And even though both of the dudes there are straight, they're so accepting. They don't belittle me. They don't treat me less than. They're so nice to me. And I get along with them so well. So, coming from, I'm not even going to say top 3, coming from the most toxic job I've ever had in my entire life, which is saying a lot, to finally coming into not only it being full-time set schedule, but being able to work with just 2 other people who really I get along with. We all help each other. It's just like, I obviously have had work environments that aren't as toxic at H&M, but coming from the most toxic job I've ever had, being H&M, into this job, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this job. I guess I can. I appreciate it so much because it's so, like, I don't want to jinx it, but it's so healthy. It's so chill. He's not a micromanager. If there's nothing to do and we finish our chores for the day, he just lets us chill on our phones. Like, it is just an A+ job, and I'm so grateful, especially for the timing of getting it. Like I said earlier, I really got to take all of October off to give me like a couple. I at least got like 3 weeks off after I quit H&M to be able to really just like heal. It was also my mom's last month of being here until she comes back next year in April. She doesn't like the winter time, but that also gave me and my mom a lot more extra time together to spend because I wasn't working. And so So yeah, you guys, but again, I'm just coming from what I've been dealing with this whole year, like essentially 10 months of abuse from my ex and the job that I had for 5 months. I'm just so happy and I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed and lucky to be in the position that I'm in right now. I mean, barely into 3 weeks, I get offered the assistant manager position. Like, girl, like, come on. As of today, my Christmas shopping's already done. Like, I already have some amazing gifts coming to myself, girl. I will see you guys on motherfucking Christmas. I'm so excited. I'm actually going to Chicago again right before. I'm really hoping that my dad is planning on coming for Christmas, so keep your fingers crossed, knock on wood. I really hope that he can come because I've been wanting him to spend Christmas with me in my apartment. He's never met Maisy. So yeah, you guys, as of right now, we're in a great place. I love you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And until I see you on Christmas, I love you guys. And I'll see you on Christmas Day. Mwah. Bye. Nails. Come on, Abby. I love you. Love you guys.